Hey YouTube, it's Coonkiller here. I'm gonna respond to a video with questions about Noah's Ark. The questions are pretty retarded, but I figured I'd do it anyway because there's nothing else to do. I got responses to make, but I'm still working on them, and I'll get them soon. It's been kind of busy around my place here. I guess I'll just start with it. They're not very good questions. The obvious girls have never studied creation. It's very obvious. Never read the Bible. Apparently they got it off the internet, which is a big mistake. And their questions are about comments, the most common messages you get. I never had to look anything up for these at all. Period. It's kind of funny. So I'm just going to start it right here. I'll let you listen along.
Okay, so these are some questions to anybody that believes in the story of Noah's Ark to be literal.
Yeah, we heard recently that 60% of the American population believes the Noah's Ark story from Genesis to be literal fact, which we think is crazy.
And scary.
Yeah, and we have quite a few questions that we've come up with. I actually went online and read the Genesis account of the Noah's Ark and the flood story. And the first thing that I noticed was a contradiction almost right off the bat, where God tells Noah, I'm going to make it rain for 40 days and 40 nights. And then later on in the book, it says that it rained for 150 days and nights. So I don't know which one of those you're supposed to, which one was it? Was it 40 or was it 150? If it's a literal fact.
Okay, you got that wrong. 40 days, 40 nights, it rained. 150 days, it was violently waves, winds, basically a storm. So, yeah, that's not a contradiction.
Can't be.
And how do you know which one to choose?
Yeah. But that's not even an important one. Even if that wasn't there, that's not even the...
Feel free to answer any of these questions.
Feel free to answer all of them.
Yes.
Okay, then there's, of course, the matter of floor space. How do you fit all of the species of you need freshwater animals in fresh water, because with the flood, all the salt water would be mixed up and freshwater animals wouldn't survive. And at that, what about the animals living in the seawater? The fresh water from all the other water sources coming in would seem to dilute the salt content of the salt water so much that they might not be able to survive. So that's another one.
Okay, pre-world had pure fresh water. More than likely, duh, there wouldn't be need for salt water. When waters went throughout the earth, it probably hit salt mines, whatever, slowly getting saltier over the years, which would make the animals in the seas adapt to the salt water, which would create saltwater sharks, saltwater crocodiles, you name it. Okay, next question.
How could the Ark, with only 100,000 square yards of cargo space, hold two of every species? This includes, like I said, the freshwater, mammals and fish, all of the insects, two of every species alive now, and all the ones that have gone extinct. And some of the creationists I've noticed have tried to remedy this with, well, he brought two of every kind. Like he brought a species of cat, and then that later propagated into all the known cats that we have today. Which doesn't make sense if you're trying to refute evolution, because that would be evolution on a very fast scale. Way faster than this microevolution that they're always talking about.
Okay, I think you're confusing that with the macroevolution there. Anyway, we don't about mammals. There have been no need for insects that can breathe out of their skin. Fish would survive in the waters just fine. Let's see, mammals, that limits it greatly, so you don't have to bring two of a kind. Microevolution is variation, so it means there needs to be variation between each kind. Dog, wolf, and coyote are all related. Same thing with the horse family and the canine. Yeah, that would hardly any animals would be perfect. Alright, next question.
Plus the idea that, 8 to 10 people can take care of all these animals, can get them to the Ark from their various places around the world, including continents not yet discovered, Australia.
No sedation.
No tranquilizers. That they didn't know about the New World at all. Where did, all the animals from the New World. And they somehow went out and collected all these animals, which would take so much time, even today, with all the advances that we have. And definitely back then, when the most that they had was maybe a horse and a cart. So that's a big problem right there. How would they...
Okay, God brought them the animals. Before the flood, there's hardly any sea, probably 20% sea, okay, of the earth. The rest was all pure land. Okay, that is a very dumb question. You're assuming today is the same as it was pre-flood. Okay, the flood totally erased. I mean, it doesn't even look similar at all. Okay, to what it used to look like. It used to be just covered with trees. It was perfect. Okay. Sedation. God brought them the animals, like I said, 2 by 2. They walked on the ark, each of each kind. Yeah, there's no Australia, there's no America. That came after the flood, so you're confusing that again. Pre-flood and after flood. And also, you say ancient man, pre-flood man, was very stupid. They were probably extremely smart. If you look up artifacts found in coal, they find so much stuff. They find cement houses sometimes and coal mines. So they were extremely smart. I wouldn't start arguing that subject with me because I have a lot of data for that. So we'll just go to the next question.
Feed all the animals, how would they adjust for all the different diets of the different animals, different amounts of heat and light and all these things that these animals would need to survive. I'm also really curious about plants. I didn't see anywhere that it said he brought seeds or that he brought plants. And that's a huge problem because they get off the ark afterwards. What are they going to eat? All the plants, none of the ecosystems could have survived 40 days and nights or 150 days and nights of flooding and raining. It's just not possible. So they would have had to have gotten off with all these plants, planted them real quick, and then sat around and wait for them to grow so they would have something to eat. And not to mention the fact that if even one of the animals dies, there goes its species.
Okay, I'm going to cut this video in half because I'm not going to have time to answer it all. As for the food thing on the ark, they were all vegetarians, every kind of animal. The lion ate grass. So that means that all they had to bring was like hay or whatever stuff, vegetarian food. Basically green herbs. So that takes care of that question. The next question was something about, what would they do after they got off the ark? Well, they stayed in the ark for a year, so they had plenty of time for things to regrow, and plus there were still plenty of high oxygen levels after the flood. So that means things would have grown fairly quickly. Like, say, trees were floating around, they had seeds on them, they'd find land, they'd grow. They're very trees, so they go pretty quick. Same with things. Trees could, they could probably regrow into the ground. I can't explain this, I wasn't there. But more than likely, seeds from the trees would have been planted somehow, and they're grown. Grass would easily be able to grow again. I'm sure there was tons of trees that went extinct. As were animals too. I'm sure there was a couple animals that got off the ark that died right away and became extinct. But it wouldn't have been very hard. How do you explain the oldest tree in the world is 4,400 years old? The oldest coral reef in the world is 4,400 years old. You can go all day on that one, so you can't explain that either. So I'm gonna cut this in half because this is just too easy. I'll make two of these.